Hey guys, welcome. My name is Josh. This is my gaming corner. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be looking at a game called Dungeon Degenerates. And I've already done a couple of videos prior to this one. The first one was the unboxing, and the other one was kind of showcasing the insert that I made for the game. You can go check those out and have links in the description for those. If you want to, go watch those and then come back. That way they kind of make more sense. The reason I did the inserts was to have everything a lot more accessible to me than it was prior to this. That way I can have all the different decks already ready to go and shuffled, and all of the tokens here ready to just kind of get to if I need to. Alright, so what we're going to be doing in this video is actually starting the first mission in the campaign of Dungeon Degenerates. It's called On the Run, and what it is you and your adventurers are escaping from the prison that you were being held in I am gonna butcher this really bad, but the name of the realm is Wurstrike. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's kind of got a little bit of a Germany, pronunciation to it, but I'm not the best at that. So anyway, the other explanations for this is the whole realm itself is being tormented by this evil wizard with unimaginable power, also known as the necromancer. And so you have escaped from prison. That's where you start out, and you're doing this favor for the person that helped break you out, and you're going and finding a severed head somewhere, and then it's from there you can decide where you want to take it, and some different paths may open up to you later on down the line. The game is 1 to 4 players, can be played solo, and the basic premise of it is it's kind of open world. You have an explorable map that you can go to, and each location or city or path that you're on or road, they all have these danger levels or city levels, and depending upon the danger card you draw is going to kind of determine what happens. Are you going to be drawing encounter cards that are going to make bad things, maybe good things happen, or are they going to make you draw some enemies? Each of the regions on the board has their own enemy decks, which is why they're all color coded here and shuffled out. So what you're doing is you're kind of handling those encounters as they come up, depending upon what you draw and what happens to you. I'm really excited to start this and kind of see how it goes, see if I'm able to last as long as I can. Anyways, the heart of what the game is, you're moving through, you're dealing with the encounters, you're dealing with the enemies, you're trying to complete the objectives, depending on what that may be, and seeing how the game's played out. So if you're still interested, stick around, and we'll kind of start running through On the Run mission when we come back. Okay, so we've got everything, basically how it's going to look for you when you go to set up your games. So we're going to run through that process right now, and we'll get that started. So go ahead and set the main board off to the side here, and we'll get all of our other components out. We've got the rules book, the missions, and we'll set that to the side here. We'll be going over these later. These you want to keep handy. These are your reference sheets that we'll be looking up from time to time throughout the game. I'll set those to the side. And here's our character sheets. And again, we'll set those to the side while we get the other components out. Now, if you haven't watched my other videos, I've already made some custom inserts for the game, which completely helps the setup of it, just getting that done real fast. If you haven't checked those out, I'll give you some links. You can go check those out and kind of see what I'm doing here. But this, unless you made something like this, it won't be the same thing for what you're doing. But we're going to go ahead and get all these things out and get those set to the side, and then that'll help us get all the other setup parts ready to go. Alright, so now that we have those 2 trays, alright, so now that we have all these components out, we can go ahead and start running through all of the individual setup things that they want us to do for the setup of your first game. Now, we'll be playing a campaign game, so there are a couple of things that we'll have to make sure that we note and actually perform as part of the setup. So we'll go over those right now. The first thing we're going to do is, if you haven't done so already, you want to get out all of the different decks of the game and go ahead and separate those out, because we need to pull certain cards from those decks. The first thing we'll be doing is making sure that our encounters decks and the loot decks, both of the loot decks, are properly shuffled. So I have all my encounters up here: wetlands, lowlands, badlands, and highlands encounters. I have both of the loot here. Let's turn it upside down. The epic loot is on this one here in this tray, and I have my other loot here in this one here. You can see from that one right there. So we got those set. I don't know why these are upside down. Looks terrible. But we have those, basically all of the decks here. They only want you to pull a certain amount of them, which, like I said, is the encounter decks and the monster decks as well. So I have my monsters down here. I have highlands, badlands, wetlands, lowlands, and the law deck. These are the 4 monster decks along with your epic monsters. And then they also want you to get the danger cards here. I have them already in this container here, pre-shuffled and ready to go. Now, the first thing that we're going to do that actually starts the main setup is we want to pull out all of the XP3 value monsters, or the Val 3 monsters, out of each one of these decks. So we're going to go through here and look through those real quick. And some of you haven't actually shuffled yet, you might find them in one spot. And they've actually are colored in yellow, so you can notice them. So as you can see here, okay, this is in the wrong deck. Alright, so we have, for the lowlands monsters here, we have 4 of the XP3 or the Val 3 cards. So we're going to go ahead and pull those and set those to the side. They'll follow this tray of mine, but basically on the outside is where all my discard piles go. Alright, so after we do that, they'll be shuffled as well. We'll do that just in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and repeat that process for all of the monster decks. So for the law, the wetlands, the badlands, and the highlands, we'll go ahead and start pulling those. Pulled. Now this is basically starting the discard piles for those monster decks, because it wants to make sure for your first mission that you're not pulling these higher value cards. But if you actually did run through the enemy decks, any one of these, and had to reshuffle, the enemies that are in the discard will be shuffled back in. So the next thing that we're going to do is, once we have those set aside, you're going to determine, are you playing a campaign game? Well, the answer to that question for me, or through this video series, is yes, we are playing through the campaign. So what we're going to do is it wants us to pull a few cards, specific cards from the Epic Loot deck, and also a card from the Epic Monster deck. So the first thing we're going to do is pull the 2 cards it wants us to pull from the Epic Loot. The 2 cards are Crown of Cruelty and Doombringer Horn. Alright, Crown of Cruelty and Doombringer Horn. These are being pulled. We're not adding them to a discard pile. They're just off to the side. They're not part of this campaign until instructed. And then we have 1 card from the Epic Monster deck, which is the Dread Saint. Right here. Alright, so we're going to pull those 3 and set those aside, and those are not going to be part of this game just yet. Alright, so the next thing we do is pulling all of our counters, all of our tokens, everything like that, and setting those to the side. Now generally what it wants is, this is the picture of the board here, if you have that. This is how it wants you to set up everything as far as board placement goes, and tokens pretty much all here, token piles and all those. As you can see, this makes it really easy to just, kind of set over to the side and work with. But all of my tokens have been pre-sorted. Like I said, I already went through that in another video. So we are ready to go there. Now the next thing we're going to do is set this aside as well as this, and we're going to go through and pick our heroes. So these are going to be the ones that we're taking on the adventure. Now I've already gone through, I've already looked at the ones that I wanted to play, and these are the two that I went with. I went with the Witch Smeller, and the other one, since I kind of like always taking in a warrior or brute type, would be the Corpse Burner. So these are the two that we've chosen, and I'm only doing a very small party. Probably not going to be splitting that party up during the campaign. They'll be kind of always together, always working together, but you always have that option. If you take a lot of heroes in there or adventurers, you can split those off into different parties. Now it does increase the difficulty of the game when you do that, because for every party you're drawing more of the danger cards, which brings more stuff onto the board or more chance encounters for things to happen. Alright, so we also want to bring their standee with us. So you need to go find that. Now if you're the lucky ones that got a little bit heavier into the game, you might have the actual miniatures, but I did not go in that heavy. But okay, so our two miniature standees here, standees, I already have the bases on them. So here we go, those are ready to go for us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the small little tokens and start filling out the spaces on each of the character cards. One for your wounds, your luck, your gold points, your XP, and this is your total life here. It's when your health gets to that one, you're pretty much dead. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go grab those tokens here, and then put those on our card where they are currently set. Okay, so our luck is on 1 for the Corpse Burner, luck is on 1 for the Witch Smeller. Our total life for the Corpse Burner is a 16. And a 14 for the Witch Smeller. Gold points is at a 6. There. XP is at 10. Okay, gold points for Witch Smeller is at 6. XP starts at a whopping 2. And then health counter is at 0. And for the Corpse Burner, it is also at 0. Alright, so now that we have that, we are going to take each character or each adventurer is going to have a cautious and bold, I almost ran that together, token. And each one of them also has a stance token, so guard or assault. And that is all the tokens that they're going to take with them for the beginning of the game. Now each one of these has certain cards that they're going to start with, skills and items. So we'll start with the Corpse Burner. So items here is red Death Mask and Grave Shovel. So we're going to consult the loot deck here and go find those. I probably have them very close by because I've already played a game there. Okay, so here we have Grave Shovel and Death Mask. So we need to go find Death Mask here. Mask. Alright, so we have our two items, Death Mask, Grave Shovel. For the Witch, we have Weighted Pistol and the Witch Smeller's Nose. Well, we already have the Witch Smeller's Nose here. And then Weighted Pistol, I think was up towards the front here. I think I remember seeing that. Yeah, right here. Alright, so Weighted Pistol. And now we're going to go ahead and claim their skill cards. So these loot cards are going to go back, and then we're going to pull our skills cards here that I had off to the side. Alright, so The skill for the Witch Smeller is Intimidate, so we're going to find that one. Alright, here's our Intimidate skill for the Witch Smeller. And then for the Corpse Burner, it is Burly. Here's our Burly skill. Alright, and you want to use the regular skill side, not the Mastery side. This is what you do when you actually level your character up. Alright, so now that we have everything for them, we have an optional step that we could go ahead and do. Now we have what's called the weakness, and this is, you don't have to do it, you can choose to do it. I like that theme of the game where you're given the choice. Your character might actually start with a weakness. What we're going to do is you can choose for the adventurer to draw a weakness card, and you can either discard it or accept it. And what you do is if you accept it, you add it to your adventurer's cards as long as you meet the requirements. As long as you meet the requirements for the weakness. All right, so we'll pull those over here. We'll get our weaknesses here, and I'll make sure to shuffle those up best I could, and we'll cut that as well. All right, so we're going to start with a Corpse Burner and draw him a weakness card. All right, Despair. How could you let this happen? When another adventurer in your party is defeated, you become demoralized and suppressed. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and choose this card. Now, immediately, we're going to get the 2 XP for taking this weakness. Okay, so our XP is going to go from 10 to 12. And then we can say right now at this point, we can accept the weakness, and we immediately gain the bonus XP, which we did, and you may draw a second weakness card. We can only do this one time, so we can have up to 2 weaknesses. So I'm going to say go for it, because we need the XP. So I'm going to draw another weakness. Goblin Hater. If you despise goblins and refuse to speak with them, when you draw a goblin encounter, you cannot approach, drink, gamble, or trade with it. If your party chooses to, you must refuse to participate. Well, there's no reason I can't accept it, so he is a Goblin Hater. Sorry, not Hunter, Hater. And so we'll go with that one, and we get another 2 XP, so we're at a total of 14 with those 2. Now we're going to move to the Witch Smeller. I'm going to draw her weakness and see what she gets. Either of you lost an eye or have generally poor vision. -1 perception. Alright, so this is going to take our perception from an 8 to a 7, which is really crappy. But we get 5 XP if we decide to take this one. So in the spirit of things, I'm going to say we take it, and I'm going to take my 5 XP because she is very low on XP. So that brings us to a total of 7 XP. And we have to keep that there just to remember that we are -1 perception. Man, I know I'm going to forget that. I'm going to go ahead and draw her second card. And this will be her last one. Now right here, before I even read it, we notice down here at the bottom that it says requirements. Rogue, Warlock, or Wild. Alright, so we need to look at our class here. We're a Human, Hunter, and Puritan. I cannot accept this weakness at all because I don't meet the requirements for it here. So we're going to go ahead and discard that and draw another one. And here we get Hydrophobia. Boats and bodies of water make you extremely uncomfortable. When you lake port travel or river port travel, you become demoralized. Alright, well that gives me 2 XP. There's no reason I can't take it. So we're going to go from a 7 to a 9. So those are our weaknesses. And now we go to choosing the mission. So we know that we're going on the first campaign mission, which is On the Run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of clear this space a little bit, and we're going to be getting out the regular board, and we're going to be setting up the tokens on there. So we'll kind of clean this up, and then we'll focus on that. So we'll be right back. All right, guys. So we got everything set back up. What we did previously was just all the setup for getting everything on the table for any of the missions you play. This one will actually go into the setup of the specific campaign that we'll be playing or starting, which is called On the Run. It's the one that's recommended when you first start any kind of learning the game, learning how to play it, and it's the first one we'd go through when doing the campaign, and which will, You can do any one of the missions as a one-off, but you can also string them along as like a story campaign, and you start with On the Run. All right, so let me take you through the what I have on the table here real quick. We already got the game board, and there's a lot of space that's being taken up because of this, all the pieces and everything here. Sorry about the lighting. So we have all of our cards over here, all the decks that we're going to be drawing from. Here are discard piles for the Highlands monsters, Badlands, Wetlands, the Law, and the Lowlands monsters. This is all the ones that the XP or the Val 3 that we had to pull out. Now there is an epic monster deck, but we didn't pull anything out of there because it doesn't have anything as far as the value 3 monsters. There's none of those in there. We have our character sheets down here with the items that we pulled for them. This is the Corpse Burner. We also have the Witch Smeller and her cards. And then over here we have the reference sheets and all of the tokens of various things that we'll pull from there. I can move this tray around if I ever need to, and then the loot deck here. So now that we have all that and we got the board actually out in front of us, what we're going to do now is actually placing all of our tokens on and getting those started. So the first thing we're going to do is setting up our mission deck as described in the rules. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to pull the Soothsayer's Head and the Fungal Parasite. Alright, so we're going to look through here. Actually, I already have this one here on the bottom of the deck. So that's our first one, the Fungal Parasite. The next one is the Soothsayer's Head. So we'll flip through here real quick until we find that one. Alright, here is the Soothsayer's Head. Okay, this is the other card that we're going to need. So we're going to be setting those two cards aside and creating the mission deck with them. Now, after we get that done, we're going to reshuffle the loot deck and everything that's in there. It was pretty much already all shuffled. I'm just kind of cutting it at different places and getting it set back in for drawing. Now, what we're going to do with the 2 cards of the mission deck, this is the only 2 that are going in here for the mission deck, mission specific. We're just going to shuffle those up as best we can and then set those off to the side, and we'll reference those later on when called for it. We'll kind of put that over here so we know to grab those later. The next thing we're going to do is lay down our clue tokens. Okay, for this mission we're going to be using clues 1, 2, 3, and 6, and they tell us exactly where to place those, and we place them with the number side up. The first one we're going to place is the number 6 clue. That's going to go on the crossroads. See if I can find it. All right. So the number 6 clue is going to go on the crossroads space right here. All right. The next one is clue number 1, which goes on Pigskin Port. That's going to go here, right on this space. The next one is Gutfish Ford. That is clue number 2. Let's see if I can remember where Gutfish Ford was. Okay, clue number 2. And then we're going to do the Stone Circle, which is number 3. That clue is going to go right here. All right, now that's all for the clues. So 4 and 5 go back into the box. Now we place one of these tokens onto the North Bridge. And that's basically what this is that's going to be an impassable space. That means we're not going to be able to use that one. So if I go back and I look up the legend for that particular icon, that one is basically just says destroyed. You cannot rest, move into, or move through a destroyed space unless you are detained there. Okay, so this is the destroyed space. So basically, we can't go through here. This is basically a destroyed path for us. All right, so next we want to place a law token, LAW, at specific places on the map. Now, where it wants us to place is each path and road adjacent to Witch Hill. All right, so we have the path here that's brown, and then the roads around Witch Hill. So all of these are adjacent. So one is going to go here, one will go here, here, and then we also have one here. This is considered adjacent. So we have about 4 spaces that have the law icons on them. And you can get a good representation of this in the actual setup page of the rulebook. It tells you exactly where those icons are going to go, or the tokens that you're going to have. And this is only for the first on the run mission, as stated in here as well. All right, so we got those set up. And that's all of our tokens that we're going to be adding to the board. The next thing we're going to do is basically set, these are my two characters here, and they're going to be starting in Brutal, I think I'm saying it right, Brutalburg Castle. This is where they've actually escaped from the prison and they're on their way out. And now is where we actually start the mission. This is where we decide where we want to go, what direction we want to take. That is when we see the objective. So for the on the run mission, we can go ahead and read that here. We have the mission is complete when all adventurers rest together as a party at clue number 1, 2, or 3. And those are the ones that we laid down, which is Pigskin Port, Gutfish Ford, or the Stone Circle. Now there are different reasons why we would want to go to each of those. And it talks about what we need to find the Soothsayer's Head, because if we read in the mission, that was one of the things that they helped us get out of one of the people in the prison, or one of the guards, I think it was. Jailer, yeah, one of the jailers gives, he's telling us he found something valuable and needs to keep hidden from his cruel and fanatical commander, the High Magistrate. Unable to leave his post, the jailer offers you your freedom if you will retrieve and deliver a package to his crooked cousin in Pigskin Port. Okay, so this is where we accept. Now at this point we could even say we could choose to refuse the jailer's offer. If we do, we skip this mission and continue to loot and pillage. On page 3, if we accept the offer, the jailer springs us out of the Undercity dungeon, sends you on your way with perhaps enough gear to survive the journey, which is our starting gear and goal points. Now, I'm going to take the mission. Obviously, that's what we've chosen to do. So that's why we got our starting gear and our gold points. So that's why we went through the setup here. And so our objective is to get to either one of the clues 1, 2, or 3 with or without the Soothsayer's Head. So in finding the Soothsayer's Head, we know we're going to get that when we successfully explore at clue number 6. So in order to get the Soothsayer's Head, we need to get over here to the crossroads and do a successful explore. And then once we do that, we have a couple of choices of where to take that the Soothsayer's Head, what we want to do with it, and we'll kind of find that out along the way. So when we come back, we'll actually start and decide who's going to go first. I believe that's decided by the agility or perception. I can't remember which one it was that actually set that for us right out of the gate. I'll look that up. I'm going to have that reference moment quite often in this tutorial or this playthrough of it. So yeah, when we come back, we'll go ahead and get that started and get these guys moving along and see what we can find. Okay, so I was just about to get started with the actual game turns, but there was one thing I forgot to mention, and it was like one of the first things when we're setting up the mission itself, was that we needed to set the bounty level for what's going to start the game off. Now when we do that, we're setting the bounty level actually over here at the Brutalburg Castle. It's this space right here. Now what they want us to do is when we're playing the on the run mission, we want to set the bounty level at 3. So we got our little blue tokens out and we put that one on 3. So this one will come up when we draw any of our encounter cards that have to do with law spaces. The other ones are going to be our danger, and then our town levels are going to be the other important numbers that we're going to have to look at when we start dealing with those encounters. But like I said, the first one we're going to deal with that we're actually setting different than is on the board is this law space here, or the bounty level. I should say that the bounty level is at 3. All right, so now that hopefully I got everything mentioned for the setup, we can actually go into the game turns. Now, we probably already covered this already, but the game is played in turns, and every game turn there's 3 phases to the game, and we follow that in order. There's the map action phase, the danger phase, and the encounter phase. During the map action phase is when, we either are going to move our party somewhere else on the board, or we're going to do some rest actions at the location that we're currently at. And there's 2 different charts that we'll consult for that. Once that phase is done, either moving or resting, then we move into the danger phase. The danger phase is when we pull one of our danger cards here that I have set aside. I kind of move things around just a little bit to kind of help placement of that. I put the character cards and all their stuff is going to be on this side of the board here, and then the draw decks for the monsters, the encounters are here, and then I have all the tokens and everything that I'll be kind of pulling from here, and the loot deck is right here, so that's where I'll be pulling most of the stuff. Alright, so anyway, so now that once the danger phase happens, we pull our danger card, and then we see if an area is going to have their danger level raised to make it a little more difficult when a danger card gets pulled for that, or if we're in that area. Once we've resolved all of the steps on the danger card, and with the danger card probably resulted in us pulling some monsters or encounters for where we're at, then you move directly into the encounter phase when you're actually dealing with all the enemies that you actually might have drawn, or dealing with any other kind of perils that may happen. Once all of that is completed and wrapped up in the encounter phase, like the fighting, if you're fighting any enemies, all that has to be completely resolved before you go back into the map action phase for the next game turn. So we're going to go ahead and start on the run. This is going to be our first turn. Now we know from the mission that we have accepted the offer to go try to find the Soothsayer's Head. That was what he wanted us to find. And so we need to move our party here, which we're only one party. We need to move them over to the crossroads here at clue number 6, and then do a successful explore action there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move, because we don't have anywhere to go. Now, before we even have actually moved our characters, we need to decide what stance that we want the party to be in. And whatever stance that we decide is what all of the members in that party are going to be. They're going to share that map stance. Since we only have one party on the board, we don't have to worry about checking our MRI levels, or MRL levels, sorry, to see who is, because if you had multiple parties on the board, you would say, okay, the party that gets to go first and choose those actions is the one with the highest MRL for morale. Well, we only have one, so they're going to be the first one acting. What I am going to choose for my party is I would like to be in the cautious stance. I am not very bold at this time since we just escaped from the prison, so I'm going to go ahead and set their tokens here on both of their cards to cautious. And now that we're in cautious, we can go ahead and proceed to move on. Now, it does change things for the map actions that you're allowed to do, and I'll show you those right here. So when we choose to take our map action during the the map action phase, we have options like foot travel, which is travel to an adjacent space. Force march is you can move more quickly, but you have to be in the bold stance. Same with lake port travel, river port travel, and void travel. All of those have to be in the bold stance, which we want to stay in the cautious step because that helps us a little bit on the encounter phase for what you can do. And then the last one is rest, and that's if you're already in a location and you need to kind of heal some wounds up or take the rest actions, then you would do that one. Alright, so we've chosen the cautious, so the only thing we're allowed to do is foot travel. We can only go to an adjacent location. So we want to make our way to the crossroads. Now we can't go directly to the crossroads because it's not adjacent. We actually have to follow the road that goes from the castle to the crossroads. So that's going to put us right in the middle. And that's as far as we can get on being cautious. So now that we've done that, we move directly into the danger phase. All right, so now that we've finished out the map action phase, we've put ourselves in a cautious stance, the party, and we moved ourselves from the castle to the path on way to the crossroads. We move into the next phase, which is the encounter phase. I'm sorry, the danger phase. And for the danger phase, we just draw our danger card. So take from the pre-shuffled danger deck that I have here. We'll take the first card and read it. It says, vile half-human things worship and give sacrifice below to the ancient twisted branches of the black tree. All right, so what we're going to do is raise the danger level of this particular area right here, which is the black tree, and we can see it's green, so we're going to consult the green area of the board, and it looks like the black tree is this big hunk right here, and it is currently at a 5. So what we need to do is basically take one of our tokens here and raise that danger level up to a 6. Okay, so that's as high as it goes for the danger level, and if it actually went any higher than that, above a 6, then we would have to be doing things with the Hand of Doom. But since we're safe now, nothing is above a 6, we'll just move on to the next part. Alright, so now what we're going to do is move to the encounter phase. We finished the danger phase, and then we move to the encounter phase. Now we see if we're actually going to be drawing any of the encounters or enemies. So we consult the second part of the card here, and we have 2 numbers on this one. So it's going to depend on which icon applies to us. This particular icon is, I believe, the woodlands, like a woodlands area. And from what I remember, there are only certain areas of the board here that have that icon, like East Bridge, Crossroads doesn't have it, none of these do here, but things when you go into the woods over here, they actually do show that, the woodlands icon. So for where we are here on the path, the road, I do not believe it is considered a woodlands space. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to assume that the number we're going to be reading from would be this one right here. So we're going to compare this number here to the danger level of the territory that we're in. Now I say territory because I already know that we're on a road which does not have its own danger level. Places like the graveyard, the fields, the catacombs, Brutalberg, the Holy Order, they all have like their town level / danger level. Anything in the orange is the danger level. If it's in green, it's a town level. So, but when we're on a space, we can't refer to those numbers because we're not there, so we refer to the territory's numbers. Now, for this over here, this immediate area or this territory, they all share the fields for the danger level. So, since we're on the road, we're going to refer to the field's danger level of 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our number 4, and then we'll read the instructions. What we're going to do is we're going to compare that. We're going to see if the danger level of the value of the danger level on the card is equal to or less than the danger level of their current space. If it is, we draw and resolve the cards as indicated on the icon key below the card. Alright, so we're needing to see if this danger level of 2 is or the danger level of the card, is equal to or less than the danger level of the current area. Well, it is not equal to or less than, it is actually higher than. And if the danger card's value is higher than the danger level in your space, you're safe. You have evaded trouble or found nothing of interest, and you ignore the icon key on the card. And we skip the encounter phase, basically. So, with that being said, we go ahead and move on. We just skip the encounter phase altogether, and we move right back into another map phase. Okay, so with a map action phase, we can decide what we want to do. Now we're already on the path. There's really no reason for us to go into a a bold stance. So I'm opting to keep my party in the cautious stance. Alright, so I've chosen that. What I want to do now is just foot travel over to the crossroads here. So we've now moved our party over to the crossroads, finished out the map action phase, and move into the encounter phase. So, sorry, I keep doing that. Move into the danger phase. So we're going to draw a new danger card. Okay, and then we'll resolve that one. If I can get it to focus here. Friends or fiends crawl forth from the unknown depths of the vast hellish chasms spanned only by the ghoulish skull bridge. Alright, so the skull bridge is what we're going to be raising the danger level of. We know it's the red part of the board. So we go and find the skull bridge, which looks like, if I can find it, here we go. Alright, so skull bridge is currently at a 4, so that means skull bridge will be raising its danger level to a 5. And the next, we just have a generic danger level that we're going to refer to of 4. So we're going to look to see, is the value of the danger card equal to or less than the danger level of the current space? No, because the danger level we're referring to is a 2. Oh, okay, sorry, yes. Crossroads, as you can see here, I'll focus in on that. The crossroads also shares with the fields, which is a 2. Alright, so we're doing pretty good because there's not a lot of danger level going on with the fields, which is what we've been referring to these last 2 encounters. So since this one was a 4, just like the last one, means we get to skip the encounter phase altogether, and we just move on, and we discard that card, and we go to our next game turn. Alright, so now at this point, we have something going on that I want to consult the mission book here. And this is finding the Soothsayer's Head. So, finding it, we have to successfully explore the clue number 6, the crossroads, and remove the clue number 6 token and draw a random card from the mission deck. Remember, the mission deck were our 2 loot cards that we drew. One was the Soothsayer's Head, and one was a fungal parasite. Okay, so, and in here it says if you draw the Soothsayer's Head, I may discard the remaining card in the mission deck, the fungal parasite, to the loot discard pile. If you draw the fungal parasite first, you must take that card. The character becomes sick from handling it, and we draw again and take the head immediately. Alright, so this is all that we're going to really be focused on now. So in order for us, we know we want to do an explore action here for this phase. So remember, the explore action here requires us to be in the bold stance, and then we have to make a perception test at that point. So we know that in order for us to explore this clue, we need to set our party to the bold stance. So we're going to go from cautious to bold. Alright, and now that we've done that, we can go ahead and try to make our tests on that. So, reading the explorers, if you are in a space with a clue counter or without an explored icon counter, which there is no explored icon counter here, what we're going to do is 1 adventurer per space per turn may attempt to explore by making a perception test. Alright, so we're going to look at our party real quick and decide who we want to even try to attempt that. Alright, so we have perception of 8. No, I'm sorry, my Witch Dweller is a perception of 7 because of the half-blind card here, or weakness. So this one's a 7, and our Corpse Burner 2 is also a 7. So there doesn't matter which one we decide on, that's the one that's going to be making the test. So I'm not sure what the parasite, the fungal parasite does, but I'm almost positive whichever one takes the test is going to be the one drawing that card. So I would almost want to say the one with more health. I would probably opt to giving that one just in case it's something to do with maybe a life drain or something like that. So I'm going to opt for the Corpse Burner to take this perception test. Alright, so now that we've decided what we're going to do, we put ourselves in the bold stance. We're going to do a perception test with the Corpse Burner to try to explore that token, or the clue, I guess. So for a test, we're just rolling 2 dice, and then we're going to compare our perception stat, which is a 7, we're looking to roll that value or lower. So a 7 or lower in order to pass the perception test. Okay, we rolled a 5, 6, 7, so we passed. So now what we can do is I can take the loot cards that we pre-drawn earlier, shuffle them up. I mean, it's only 2 cards, really not as much shuffling as I can do, and then decide which one I'm going to pick. I'll just go with the top one, hoping it's not the fungal parasite. Crap, it's a fungal parasite. Alright, so let's go ahead and read this real quick. And if you were, what this does is it's a disease. It gives me -1 constitution, which is going to bring down my life by 2 because your health is based on, it's about double your constitution. And then +1 magic. So my magic is actually going to go up 1, but my stats are going to go down. So this is going to stay with my corpse burner here, and we'll do that real quick, show you guys that. So I'm bringing my constitution down by 1. I actually think I have a token for that. If I can find it here, give me just 1 second. Okay, now I have a poisoned icon or a poison token here, but I'm only using it to show that I'm -1 constitution right there on my 8, just to remember that. I'm only putting it there for my reference. And then my +1 magic, I don't think I have a counter for that. So what, oh no I do. Exalted. Alright, so neither of these stats are actually, or these tokens generally are supposed to go down here when you're fighting or been given this condition, but I'm only putting them here so I can remember those things that have happened to me. Alright, so now that my constitution has gone down to 7, that means my my health will have gone from a 16 to a 14. Okay, so we're going to move that down from 16 to 14 right there, just to note that. Alright, so now that we've done those for the fungal parasite that I'm now carrying, I guess, we are going to go ahead and immediately draw the second card that was in the mission deck, which was what we were looking for, the Soothsayer's Head. Alright, and there are some stats to this one here. It's an item and relic, and there's some things that we can do later on. If we want to use this card, you may pay the Soothsayer's Head 1 luck, lose 1 luck, to look at the value of any face-down clue counter on the board. Not sure I really want to burn this card just yet, so I think we'll have it for a different reason. So we're going to give this over to our corpse burner here, so he's going to be carrying that card. And then we're going to go consult the mission book real quick to see if anything has changed. Alright. So down here we have, when you dig up the Soothsayer's Head, its haunting raspy voice whispers to you in an ancient tongue. If any adventurer in the party meets the requirements of the Soothsayer's Head, Magic 7 or Puritan, they can make sense of his desperate pleas to be returned to his home at Stone Circle. Alright, well, does anybody have Magic 7 or Puritan? Let's go take a look. Alright, so we definitely have a Magic 7 here. And she is also a Puritan. So it's an or thing. Could either be Magic 7 or Puritan. So we can, we've just made sense of the desperate pleas to return to his home at Stone Circle. So at this point, we have an option. We can take the head, which we now know, actually this clue number 6 gets removed from the board, and I get to place an Explore token, if I can find the Explore tokens. Alright, so now we have an Explore token in this area, which is useful for future adventures when we go there, because that will stay on the board. We can take the Soothsayer's Head from our current location over to the Stone Circle, which is where it's wanting to go. We still have the other choices of taking it to Pigskin Port to deliver it, or taking it to Gutfish Hoard, which was another one. Those 3 options were deliver the Soothsayer's Head to the jailer's cousin by going to Pigskin Port. We can use the Soothsayer's Head. You may deliver him to his hometown of the Stone Circle. or deliver the soothsayer's head to the elders at Gutfish Hoard. I would say this. The head has made a plea to the witch smeller. We can understand what it's asking, and we are going to see it through, I guess. So we are going to try to get it over to the stone circle. That is where we want to head to. All right, so now that we have that, we still need to resolve everything else because we're still in the turn. We did our move over here, and no, I'm sorry, we did our rest action to explore that. Okay, so here's where we went a little bit off. All right, so when we do a rest, if we're in a space with a danger level, which we do have a danger level of 2 in the fields because that's what it uses, each adventurer in the party in MRL level, morale level, may take turns using camp actions. If you are in a town, each adventurer in the party in MRL order may take turns using town actions. We are in, I believe this is like a camp. It's not even a camp here. Let's see. Camp and town actions are collectively known as rest actions. You can perform any number of rest actions in a turn, but you cannot perform any action more than once. When you rest, your first rest action must be recover. You do not have to roll the dice if you have no wounds unless consequence for failure is imposed. Okay, so this is what we basically skipped. Is since we started, I already knew I was going to do the explore action, but I had no recovery that I needed to do because I had no wounds or anything. So we basically we did the rest action first, but we skipped even rolling for it because there was no reason for us to roll, and there was nothing on any of our doom cards. We don't have any weakness cards that basically give us a penalty for doing any rest actions. So that's why we just basically skipped the recovery part and went straight to the explore. So I just wanted to make sure that that was mentioned and covered before we move on anymore. All right, so what we're going to do now is, since we did our rest actions, we've completed the map action phase, and we're moving into the danger phase. So we are going to draw a danger card for where we're at. All right, and our encounter card is, if I can get it to focus here, slimy things claw their way from the black depths onto the shores of Tomb Lake. Okay, so Tomb Lake is going to be getting an increase in the danger level. Looks like Tomb Lake is right down here. You guys can see that. It is currently at a 3, so its danger level is going to be going to a 4. Alright, and now what we're going to look at is we're not worried about this Ghost Gate, the Doom, the Hand of Doom, because there's no reason it's gotten out on the board yet and it's not moving around. Alright, so now we're going to consult this number, 5. So we're going to see, is that number, again, does it equal to or lower than the danger level where we're at? Well, it is not. It's actually higher than, because our danger level is currently 2. So again, we're skipping the encounter phase and we're going into the next game turn. Alright, so now that we've done that, we need to decide what path do I actually want to take to get myself over to the stone circle. I could take the path up to the East Bridge, try to get through the Witchwood here using the paths, but it's a little tricky because of all these law spaces. If I'm in one of these spaces during a danger phase and draw a law card, that means that I'm going to have to draw from the law deck instead of the regular encounters or monsters, just the monsters. So I feel like be a bit cautious going through here. What I could do is move myself up to the East Bridge, since it is a port location. It is one of the port areas here from that icon right there, and actually use this river to travel downstream to the Tomb Lake, the Dusk Falls area here, and then once I'm there at Dusk Falls, continue on my path, moving past the black tree, and then up to the stone circle. So it's anyone's guess as to how that's going to go, but I think that's pretty much the general plan I want to stick with. So what we'll do when we come back is we'll go ahead and start down that path and see where it takes us.